Samkid, scrap submarines budget and spend less on flagship projects to boost grassroots economy. On Monday, the Prime Minister's office welcomed last week's report from the International Monetary Fund on the Thai economy, which confirmed projected growth of 2.8% for this year and 4% for next year. This contrasted sharply with the fears expressed by former economic czar Samkid Jachusripatak, who called on the government to cut back on key flagship infrastructure projects and to prepare a fund of 200 to 300 billion to assist the less well-off through the banking system in 2023 when an economic storm is expected. Former government economic czar and Deputy Prime Minister, Samkid Jachusripatak, has called for the scrapping of plans to buy submarines from China and less emphasis on flagship infrastructure project spending going into 2023 in an effort to target badly needed financial support to the less well-off at a time of heightened inflation and rising interest rates. The former key advisor to Prime Minister Prasetya and Minister of Finance in the government of Thaksin Shinawatra is warning that the kingdom is facing an economic crisis in 2023 and that the government must have a fund of 200 to 300 billion available to help those in debt and the less well-off survive the coming storm to preserve the kingdom's economy and prevent further damage or even collapse. It comes as the Prime Minister's office, on Monday, in contrast, welcomed an International Monetary Fund projection that Thailand's economy will grow by 2.8% in 2022 and 4% in 2023. Former Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Samkid Jachusripatak has called on the government to fund a war chest of 200 to 300 billion and for funds to be given to commercial and specialized banks to support the less well-off in what are expected to be challenging times economically in 2023. He has suggested canceling the budget to buy Chinese submarines and deferred spending on flagship infrastructure projects. The government's former economic czar Samkid Jachusripatak is warning that 2023 poses a significant threat of economic collapse if Thailand's leadership does not sincerely face up to the facts. Mr. Samkid expressed concern that a widening interest rate disparity between Thailand and the United States will inevitably drive funds out of the country. Stubbornly high inflation in the United States means continued strong medicine from the Federal Reserve and a stronger dollar as interest rates rise. These concerns were heightened at the end of last week when economic data in the United States showed still raised levels of inflation following stronger than expected labor figures days earlier, indicating the Federal Reserve may, at the very least, have to stick to its guns with a proposed further interest rate rise of 0.75% when it meets on November 2 next and fears of a further rise of 0.5% on December 14. Deposit interest rates stateside are also now moving in line with the current uptick in borrowing rates, which will draw capital to the dollar. This may bring the interest rate for borrowers in the United States to 4.75%, with JP Morgan boss Jamie Dimon saying, this week, that the U.S. will end in recession within the next 6 to 9 months, but on the plus side, he expected it to be less severe than the 2008 financial crisis, with some forecasters actually predicting 0.3% growth for the U.S. economy in 2023. Thai interest rates must rise, but Samkid calls for funding to be made available to commercial and specialized banks to assist those in difficulty. This week, Mr. Samkid, while expressing support for Bank of Thailand Governor Sethaput Suthiwart-Naruput, suggested that interest rates in Thailand must go up, but said that the bank must act to provide funding to commercial banks and specialized banks to help the less well-off, particularly those with loans now facing extreme hardship in a climate with rising interest rates and slower growth. Samkid was Deputy Prime Minister in the government of Prasetya until 2020 and is currently the chairman of the Sanganakat Thai Party, which means building Thailand's future. He is one of 5 former ministers, including Dr. Kobsak Putrakul, Uttama Savanayana, Sondarat Sondajaraong and Suvat Misanse, who all resigned at the same time in 2020 due to an internal political heave within the ruling Palong Prakarat party. The economics guru also called upon the government to use its funding to support the grassroots economy in the months ahead as opposed to emphasizing flagship infrastructure projects. Response to the economic challenge ahead should not be distorted by the forthcoming general election. He warned that failure to preserve the country's struggling small business owners, self-employed and farmers would have a far more devastating effect on the economy if this was not the case going forward. He also cautioned that the government must put the people first at this time while facing the facts and the challenge before it sincerely. He feared the forthcoming general election may distort the response needed to this emerging crisis. Samkid suggested that the country must immediately prepare a lifeline of between 200 billion to 300 billion to assist indebted borrowers and help support the less well-off in 2023. He suggested that the government convene its economic cabinet and set up a war room to deal with the predicted economic storm that he believes is brewing. Prime Minister's office upbeat about the economy on Monday, saluting the International Monetary Fund's projection of 2.8% growth in 2022 and 4% in 2023. On Monday, however, Anuchabura Pachesri at the Prime Minister's office was more sanguine about the kingdom's economic prospects moving forward and welcomed a projection last week from the International Monetary Fund of 2.8% growth for 2022, a figure unchanged by the World Financial Institution since July this year. The IMF also predicted that Thailand's economy will grow by 4% in 2023 despite its dire warnings in recent weeks about a slowing world economy. The Washington, D.C.-based Bank of Last Resort, tasked with preserving world financial and economic stability, underlined that Thailand's economic recovery was dependent on attracting more foreign tourists and maintaining robust domestic consumption. It also warned the kingdom about the rapid slowdown in the Chinese economy, which is the country's second-largest export market and largest trading partner. Debt serviceability on loans improved in 2022. The financial organization noted that debt serviceability had improved in the Thai economy this year, although it pointed out that some economic sectors appear not to have rebounded as fast as others. The IMF noted the kingdom's strong banking sector and the country's still ample foreign exchange reserves, which appear to marginally grow to the 12th of October from the 7th of October according to recent data, and are currently valued at $199.8 billion. The World Financial Agency highlighted the importance for Thailand of tackling the country's chronic problem with household debt, something currently underway within the bank with plans to tighten credit and lending in the opening months of 2023. Former minister questions export growth data as Bank of Thailand plans to rein in consumer loans. The IMF also called for the acceleration of the country's digital payment infrastructural development and efforts to create a more sustainable economy.